Welcome to Hacking Founders,
where we are unlocking the secrets of leadership and innovation so you can learn from others' experiences.
I'm Tamara Medina, leadership and business expert from Shopify Solutions.
I'm Brother Elana, Head of Design and Innovation at Rocket Band.
Stay with us. At the end of our podcast, we will have our special collaborator, the AI Roulette, who will hack our guest with some challenging questions.
Today, we are joined by a true entrepreneur force in e-commerce, Nathan Lomax. Starting with his agency at just 18, Nathan has built a powerhouse Shopify consulting that helps ambition brands reach the new heights. He is recognized as a BIMA 100 Rising Star and has collected multiple awards, including the European Agency Awards. We are excited to dive into a conversation with someone who truly exemplifies how success and giving back can go hand by hand.
Welcome, Nathan. And yes, please, if you can give us a little introduction about yourself.
Of course. My name's Nathan, co-founder of Quickfire Digital. Quickfire is a Shopify plus focused agency over here in the UK. So we're based in Norwich, about 2 hours outside of London, but spend most of my life in London. A team of about 35, circa 2.5, 3 million. We're looking to work with brands around 1 to 30 million. They're looking to scale. Ideally, they're either already on the Shopify platform and they'll work with us on a kind of monthly recurring or retained basis, or they're in Magento or BigCommerce or another platform and want to come over to Shopify, which in the last kind of 12, 18 months, we've seen an awful lot of brands moving into Shopify. It's been a really exciting time, and that's how we've really established the agency to where we are now.
Interesting. Why e-commerce, Nathan?
I think, if I'm honest, it was almost very fortunate. So just before maybe 2018, 2019, we as an agency needed to niche and find where we could stand out. And we were looking at two markets. We were looking at e-commerce as one. Why? Because the team enjoyed working in e-commerce. We liked the brands we were working with and we enjoyed it. And the other was hospitality, a world that I'd grown up in and understood. And so I thought, okay, well, do we become an agency for hospitality businesses, or do we become an agency for e-commerce businesses? And I still can't tell you really to this day why we chose e-commerce over hospitality. But we did. And someone must have been looking over us that day, because in 2020, we had lockdown and hospitality businesses seriously struggled. E-commerce businesses boomed, and we were on the right rocket ship at the right time.
Yeah, that's we had the similar in Rocket Van. We lost all of our customers in hospitality, and they have been bought by bigger groups. So we're talking about restaurants and hotels, particularly in Spain, where my co-founder is. So yeah, I understand the struggle. So about e-commerce, you are focused on Shopify. Is there any reason? Is because of technology? Is because what exactly is your choice to be a Shopify-centered agency?
Yeah, I think when we were looking at different platforms out there, and you look at Magento, you look at BigCommerce, you look at Centra now entering the market, and you think, okay, well, what do you look for when you look at a technology or a tech stack? And for me, one of them was around scalability of the platform. And you look at the different levels of Shopify, it wasn't like, oh, you had to do 50 million quid to use the platform or justify the platform. It appealed to merchants of all shapes and sizes. So it was attractive in that way. I like the offline online play, albeit they've invested significantly more recently in Shopify POS and the offline play. So I like that kind of omni-channel approach. I think at the time, you look at the volume of R&D engineers, I think it's something like 2,000 R&D engineers constantly innovating, pushing towards Shopify Editions. They're rolling out hundreds of new features each year through both versions of Shopify Editions. So I think, look, the platform's constantly innovating. The market is loving it. They're doing a fabulous job in marketing, whether it be Harley or Toby or whoever. They're a seriously impressive company. And for us, we found that the liquid framework that Shopify uses to be intuitive, we enjoyed working with it. Shopify then rolled out Shopify 2.0. That made life even easier. And it also gave power to the customer. I don't like the idea of building something totally bespoke that a customer can never edit or update or maintain, particularly when it comes to merchandising. So adding product, changing description, changing photo, changing price. I don't believe that anyone should operate in a world where they have to go to agency to make those decisions. They should be able to do a lot of that themselves. So Shopify was intuitive. There's a fantastic support ecosystem. We started just building Shopify stores at a fairly kind of small level, and then started to scale, and then picked up a couple of hero brands, and then continued to scale and kind of build that momentum. And I love the e-commerce ecosystem. If it wasn't Shopify, it would have been something else in e-commerce. The support, the camaraderie, the banter, like they're just a really, really nice community and a really kind of supportive community. I talk a lot about the plus equals minus model, and it doesn't matter if the agency is doing 10 million quid or doing 100 grand a year, they are all trying to support each other. And I really like that. So yeah, that's kind of why Shopify and why we went all in. I actually famously, the MD at the time of Shopify EMEA, Shimona, came on a podcast with us. And we hadn't been doing Shopify very long, and it was in lockdown, and she very kindly gave up her time and came on a podcast. And I just thought, yeah, this is a company I can align with and really liked and bought into. And then it kind of just went on and on from there. I think the other thing is, if you look at extensibility, or like the way in which you improve the functionality out the box, you look at an app ecosystem of 9,000 apps, right? So loyalty, it's mad, absolutely mad. 9,000 apps, and that's just the ones that are approved kind of for the App Store, right? So to me, you've also got this kind of theme-based versus custom approach. And actually, if you're a retailer doing £50,000 a year, you can use a Shopify theme. If you're a retailer doing 50 million a year, you can build something custom, and the platform can cater for both. And I really like that.
I would like to take you a little bit about in the past. I was quite impressed that your first agency, you started at 18. So could you share a little bit with us, kind of how did that happen? What drove you? And kind of what inspired you to start?
Yeah, thanks, Samara. I think that I left school. I was very fortunate to go to a private school up near me called Gresham's in Holt, and I had the most fabulous time. And I was, how would I put it? They really wanted everyone to go to university, right? I think that helps with numbers and everything else. And I decided university probably wasn't for me. And I always had this kind of entrepreneurial spirit, I think probably from seeing my parents run hotels and always be their own bosses. And I thought, I really want that. So I went down that path and set it up. And I remember building my first website for £400 for my friend's parents, which was a bed and breakfast. Did that one. And then they told someone, and I built another one and another one and another one, and then just grew and grew and grew. And then I remember famously saying to my co-founder now, Fred, we will never build a website for more than £5,000. I just couldn't see why you'd spend more than £5,000 on a website. And now obviously times change, and you think, well, maybe not. But going back to 2012 when I left school, I think it was 2012. Kind of set up my own thing, was building WordPress websites, built a team originally out in India, actually. Had a lovely team out there, then was doing it back here in the UK. And in 2017, I was spending quite a lot of money in website hosting. So if you guys are familiar with WordPress, you'll know that you pay hosting every month, whereas Shopify now is self-hosted. And I thought, you know what, like this is getting crazy. I'm spending £5 or £6 a month in hosting. And so I met my co-founder, Martin, and he talked about maybe taking that on, and then we could maybe set up a business together doing that. And we did that. And so every Sunday we'd work on what was Harper Lomax. And then Monday to Friday, I'd work on my own thing. And then 2017, 1st of June, 2017, I think, we decided to give it a go. He was in business with another guy called Fred. And three of us thought, actually, Fred loves e-commerce strategy and that kind of thing, or strategy as a concept. Martin loves systems, process, finance, and all the stuff I'm absolutely useless at. And I like new business and growth and sales and that side. So actually, the three of us coming together could create something quite powerful where essentially we could do what we enjoyed doing more of the time. And so that was the concept. So we came together, created what is Quickfire. And yeah, I think essentially never looked back. It caught fire pretty quickly. Within 6 months, we were kind of seeing the benefits. Of course, there's challenges, teething issues, etc., like there is in any partnership. But I think realistically, when Quickfire's on form and when the three of us are working together, we created something quite powerful. So that's kind of just snowballed, and now we find ourselves in a position where we're putting in a leadership team. We're trying to maybe take a bit of a step back of being involved in every decision, and now thinking, okay, well, how do we scale this thing? And sometimes I think, hand on heart, probably our own worst enemy, and sometimes getting our own way of scaling to, say, 5 million or 50 people, 70 people. The biggest thing that's probably blocking us is actually ourselves.
Yeah, definitely. And how has your perspective of kind of what is running a business changed since you started and actually now, like maybe the biggest lessons or the biggest unexpected things that you encounter in that journey?
Yeah, I mean, how long we got? It's changed massively from what I thought. Like, essentially, growing up in the world of hospitality, I'm obsessed with service, right? Like, it just doesn't matter what industry, like service. Make the customer feel $1 million, make them feel unique, make them feel special. And I think as you're starting a business and it's just you, you have full control over that, right? You can choose, okay, I can choose how I'm going to make that customer feel. But then when you build a team, the team don't always deliver that experience that you would deliver. It doesn't mean it's a better experience, doesn't mean it's a worse experience. It's just a different experience. Okay. And so for that, I found that, I mean, if I'm honest, I found that one of the most hardest things of being a founder and building a team is no one does it like you would do it. Now, it doesn't matter if that's better than you would do it or worse than you would do it. When it's you doing it, you can control it 100%. So if it does go right, you can celebrate and pat yourself on the back. And if it doesn't go right, you can pull yourself up and say why. But you've got 100% accountability. Whereas now you're building a team, what is it, 35 people? And actually, you can't be across every conversation. So suddenly you're like, whoa, okay, that's really cool what you just did there. I would have never done that. That's genius. Or, whoa, I would not have done that. I see how you've done that and I see why you've done that. But I would have done it like this, but obviously it's too late. So I think that's been a massive lesson, something that's had to change. I think the thing is like our business is built on relationships, right? It's built on people. And obviously I met Rodo lockdown time, maybe even before that. And we've been friends ever since, right? And so for me, I think that's built on relationship and supporting each other and trying to pay it forwards and all that good stuff. But unfortunately, when you're running a business and you're looking at margins and you're looking at growth, etc., you kind of sometimes lose that secret sauce, right? What got you to £500,000 isn't going to get you to 2 million quid, isn't going to get you to 10 million quid. So you have to change, you have to adapt. At the moment, I don't know if it's because I'm burnt out or tired or what as we come up to the end of the year, but I am maybe not being the best leader I could be right now. I'm far too emotionally charged with every decision. Like the highs seem so high, right? Like unbelievable. And we're winning work. Just recently, we're in this position, and I'm sure you guys can relate, where if we won 3 or 4 projects, we were done till April, right? Amazing. A happy days. And if we didn't, I've got a massive gap in December, and how am I going to pay everyone, right? It literally is that. It's that kind of tightrope.
Yeah.
And fortunately, it came in and it all looks very positive, and that's really exciting. And some people have signed and brilliant. The trouble is then you're on such a high and you think, I mean, this is going, we're going to the moon. And then something over here happens, which is someone decides to take it in-house or move agency or whatever it is. And oh God, it hurts. It hurts more than it's ever hurt before. And the lows are cripplingly low. And I'm not, if I'm really honest with you guys, I'm not managing to handle that particularly well, right? Because I care too much. I just, everything seems so personal. So any bit of feedback, I had a WhatsApp from a client today, and it's actually the client's boss who I was introduced to originally, and we deal with the client and occasionally touch base with the chat. And it's a lovely company and a lovely guy. And he sent me the nicest WhatsApp message about how the team had been amazing yesterday and he had lovely feedback. And God, I got all like goosebumps. I'm like, that is amazing. And that has really given me a really nice afternoon. But at the same time, on the way home from my partner's just set up a pop-up, and on the way home last night, another client message to say that they'd had a challenge and could I help them and could I get involved? And suddenly, that's ruined my evening, right? It's absolutely ruined my evening. My head's in the bin. I'm thinking, oh, it's a disaster. It's the consistency which, as you guys will know, when you scale a business, it's so hard to deliver the same experience time after time after time after time, because there's so many moving parts, different people on it, different client, different relationship, different situation, different things going on at home. There's so many moving parts. I find that very difficult.
So
Well, maybe I can help you with that difficult part. But that's another
I don't even know if I answered the question there. I just went on a bit of a rant, but yeah, I really want to make sure that
definitely.
whenever I do podcasts and things like this, like, I want to share the true story. Of
Yes,
course,
no,
like,
that's the whole.
you can very easily see Quickfire on LinkedIn, and you can see our journey, and you think, oh, it's like nothing ever goes wrong there. It's all amazing. And I'm like, look, we've been unbelievably lucky and had a great ride and continue to have a great ride, but it's not without its challenges. And here's the forum to kind of share openly what's going on behind being a founder.
And before I pass you back to Rodolfo, one question. Again, from all this experience and what you've gone through, what do you think would be the core 2-3 qualities that you think you have, or do you think are very important to have when you are in this journey?
Empathy. Empathy is the first. So you really need empathy with the team and with the client. And that's something, as I say, when I'm emotionally charged myself, having empathy to understand why something didn't go to plan, or why the client didn't respond by the time they need to respond, or whatever, that's really difficult. So that's the first thing you need. I talk about this triangle in agency life: commerciality, proactivity, and personality. Okay. And I'd love to trademark that, right? I wish. But essentially, if you go into every conversation with a client looking at how you can deliver a return on investment on the money they're spending with you, client should be happy. If you bring consistent good ideas to the table of how the client can grow or improve, client should be happy. And if you turn up every week and genuinely care about them and want the best for that client, and so recently we had a situation where a client asked for something, and we said, yeah, no problem, estimated it up, about 17 hours worth of work. Okay, the client has 40 hours a month. So this task would take 17 hours of that. Now I look at it and I go, do you want that thing for 17 hours, or do you just want the outcome? And the outcome is you want to show 2 products on a page. It doesn't need to slide in a carousel and be super custom. It could just be one stack beneath the other, and that's 30 minutes, and you have 16 and a half hours back. Yeah, and if you have that personality to have that conversation, say, I genuinely care about you and I want the best for you, I think that's the path to success.
Definitely, we are on the same page here, Nathan, because sometimes
I'm back.
Yeah, back. No worries. Is it okay now?
Yeah, it was just the dog kept whining. I was like, I can't be having that. The thing is, you work
it's okay.
from home,
It makes it.
It's so lovely working from home. The postman's shouting out the window, coming out to the door.
Oh,
like, leave me alone.
I know. Yes. Oh yeah. Yeah. I'm with you, Nathan. We all, as you know, we're creating apps and everything. Sometimes I'm questioning a lot our clients, saying, "Is really, you thought you wanted because your competition has, but do you users really need that? Maybe not." And again, you need to be very proactive and meaningful. Also, a meaningful approach and questioning, and then they realize, yeah, maybe I don't need that. And maybe if people, they start demanding it, maybe it's time to, because it's something that is required. But
I think
that's a good approach.
The challenge on that is that from a project management perspective, I couldn't have asked for any more, right? Client gave brief, we delivered against brief, happy days, well done, project manager. Developer was asked to estimate, can't ask for any more. It's now, how do you go to the next level, which is knowing, like, being able and having the confidence to go back and say, I don't think you need that, Mr. Client or Mrs. Client. I think you need this. And this is why I think you need this. And then they go, no, actually, I still want what I've asked for. Please deliver it. No problem. You're the bill payer. Fine. Or, blimey, I'm so grateful you asked. That's exactly what I want. And if you can find a better way that isn't quite what I'd asked for, but it does the same thing, tremendous.
Yeah, I think it is. That's a good approach, and I think over the time is a long-term relationship that you're seeking for with and for your clients. So you are there to help them generally. Obviously, you're getting paid, that's not a favor, but you, as you said, you are wearing their shoes and understanding very deeply their businesses. So it's very, very good. So I think it's time. I think you're aware about the AI roulette. So this, is nothing about us. It just, code something that it will be putting a question that is a bit more spicy than just, nice ones that you've been doing till now. So we're gonna press just the button and it's gonna generate a question. So if you could have a candid conversation with one of your competitors, what would you want to ask to them?
I would want to ask to them. I want to ask why. So I'm thinking of a particular competitor at the moment, and they're actually a friend, but I'm a big believer in kind of like, if you have a same product service and the same availability and at the same price point, then maybe you have a competitor. But actually, we have more partners than we have competitors, because who else does Shopify for brands at a rough price range of 30 to 60K that has the capacity to do it in the next 14 weeks? Not actually that many people, and to the level that you would do it, etc. There's probably maybe 3 or 4. And so you think, okay, if there's 3 or 4, what would I want to know from them? I'd want to know what depth of pipeline they had, just because I'm curious. I'm massively into benchmarking and I'm really competitive. And so I always think to myself, blimey, it always looks so good over there. And I'm always beating myself up like, oh, I bet they got 30 leads this month, I only got 12. Or I bet they didn't drop the ball on that client, or I bet they didn't have that conversation, or I bet they didn't do this. And actually, I'm really lucky. There's a model called the plus equals minus model, and I surround myself with quite a lot of agencies that are bigger than us, and they tell me some absolute horror stories, and I go, oh, actually, well, it's all right here. That's not so bad. So yeah, what I want to know from them is, do they have the same challenges as us? And if they do, what do they look like? And if they don't, then what challenges do they have? Because it'd be like, oh, well, at least we've got that bit nailed.
Amazing. I have a question also, because you've been a long time, and specifically, on e-commerce. So how do you see e-commerce on the next? I'm not gonna say 10 years, because it changed so much in a little time. So how do you see in 5 years' time? What is the future of e-commerce?
I'm going to put a bet out there that the future of e-commerce is around conversational commerce. And I'm talking a lot about conversational commerce and voice search and that kind of thing. And I am really interested by this space. So how many times now? I was at Sky Sports yesterday on a tour of Sky Studios, and just seeing how they interact with the new Sky Telly, and people are speaking. Don't even need a remote control, right? You're just speaking to it. You literally don't need a remote. And you walk past it and it turns on, and you walk out the room and it turns off. Right? Gone are the days of potentially the remote. And you just talk to it and say, I want to watch this. And it'll pull in all the streaming services and everything else. And I think, okay, now if you took that to an e-commerce point of view, and you're talking to the telly or your device and you're saying, I need to buy X, or build me a shopping list, now order said shopping list, that's where I see it going. I think WhatsApp has got a massive part to play. If you think of apps and tools that are in our everyday life, I'm really excited to see how WhatsApp can build another channel just like email does. And I've had 2 demos in the last few days from 2 different solutions that provide WhatsApp to customers. And I've been really impressed. And I think actually, yeah, that's smart. Emails may be struggling to get some cut through. I'm not saying for one moment it's not a powerful tool and will continue to be. But at the same time, if I can't get my message through an email, what other channels can I reach my customer? And look, we all live and breathe WhatsApp most of the day. Is that the solution? So that I'm quite interested about. We talk a lot about omni-channel. I really love the fact that bricks and mortar still has a place, and is pop-ups and that kind of thing is doing fabulously well for a lot of brands. For me, in a shorter time frame, the return of offline marketing and direct mail is really exciting. And I look at tools like Paper Run, and I was talking to someone else from Royal Mail the other day, and seeing how for those that aren't answering email, we can send something in the post fairly cheaply, I think is another great way of cutting through. So yeah, I mean, yes, you could say, okay, well, it's going to be something AI backed. I've no doubt that AI is going to continue to be a massive help if used correctly for a lot of people in the e-com space. But for me, I see ecom temporarily returning to quite a few principles that maybe were cutting through 5 or 6 years ago, and we've got all swept up in the noise of COVID and everything else. And someone goes, fundamentally, what am I trying to achieve? I'm trying to get my message in front of a person to make them feel special and to make them buy my product. And ideally, once they bought my product, make them tell other people about my product or make me buy it again. And so tools like offline marketing, tools like conversational commerce, I think can only help with that.
That's brilliant. So it was a hype. I was putting the question. Obviously, the personal assistant is something that is in there already, and it will help us. How those companies they're gonna plug into the products and services as before we were used. Because now the next generation they're not googling anymore. They're just going straight away to those assistants. So this is another paradigm that I think is gonna go through. Voice assistants. I've been since 10 years ago. We started with Alexa, with some prototyping and everything, and it was for a cleaning company. They wanted to know when their clients, and it was a prototype. So when their clients they wanted to get clean their offices, so they say, "Can we do that?" It's like, well, we can create an app using Alexa, so you can have it there, and hopefully it's not triggering all those Alexas every time I'm saying so. And then
Can you hear
suddenly it was
Rodolfo?
like, sorry.
I lost you guys, but I don't know if you lost me or I lost you both.
No. I think
No, I'm
no
good.
worries.
Yeah.
So basically, it was asking can the cleaner come to our office, because it was it wasn't that the days they already, it was just when they felt that it was a new product they wanted to launch. So yeah, and it happened. So I think you're right on that. Metaverse and everything, I think it was a big hype and people are not ready yet. After COVID, people they want to go and meet or doing differently rather than wearing a big. But it will be eventually, I think.
Yeah, I think the metaverse will come. Undoubtedly, it's just a case of the other angle I'm really interested in is linked to the metaverse is this kind of world of gaming and joining gaming to e-commerce and the amount kids are spending on dressing characters and doing this. I find that fascinating. I'm like, oh, okay, you're playing Fortnite or whatever it's going to be on the Xbox, and you're between the age of 16 and 22 or whatever, and actually the amount of money you are spending on a virtual character is eye-watering, and you want it to have all the latest clothes and handbags and whatever. I think this thing doesn't exist. Right. Amazing. And I think that's certainly we're going to see more of that.
And it will be a link with the physical product, so people they will be able to wear and pre-wear, and then if you do want to be on the real life, you can order it. So it's another paradigm. But I think it still has a bit of time to brew, I think. Cool.
Are we doing one more of the AI assistant?
You want one more? You have.
No, I love the AI.
We are
good.
Cool.
That was really cool. Give it another spin.
But before we go into the AI assistant, just a quick question. You mentioned that you one of the things that you would like to know from your competitors is kind of how they face certain challenges. Could you face one of the biggest challenges that you guys faced, and how did you overcome? For maybe other agencies looking into what can they learn from you?
Yeah, interesting. I think one of the biggest challenges recently has been speed of growth, and I share this openly and hope that people take this with the way it's intended. The agency's hired 10 people in 8 months, right? And that isn't to be big-headed or come across as showy or whatever. It's to show the reality of scaling a business needs more people, onboarding new people, new processes, new cultures, etc., into an agency is exceptionally tough. And that's something I think we hired a head of people that's been extraordinary in helping us do that and roll out consistent process, and a head of ops. And I think when I go into the office now and I see all the heads and the people, and I love it. I absolutely love the environment that we've built, but it's an exceptionally tough thing when you are expecting a level of performance that you are used to or you set, or a standard you set, and you are trying to hold everyone to that level. I find that very, very difficult. And I think in the world we live in today, gone are the days of pulling someone in a room and going, what on earth is going on here? Like, you've got to be far more strategic. And we did a brilliant session. If we talk about like how we've overcome that or trying to overcome that, we certainly haven't solved it entirely. There's a lady called Sandra Andrews that runs motivational workshops. So it's like, actually, before we go into this, let's just understand what motivates you and what makes you tick. And also what doesn't, and how we can communicate with you in the best way. We then got a guy called Gavin Drake that does kind of high performance workshops. So if we want to deliver a high performance culture, we need to have some high performance coach. What does high performance look like? What are the tools and techniques you can use to unlock high performance? So investing heavily in the team in terms of EPMs and training and just culturally trying to get them to align and make sure that they're getting everything they need from their kind of hierarchy of needs. Looking at communications workshops and how we can get the best out of each other and realizing that no two people are created equal. And then looking at, if we want to drive this high performance culture, how can we bring in external experts to reinforce the message? Because sometimes it's very difficult to relay that as a founder. Sometimes you need, like, it could be the same message, right? But someone else says it, brilliant idea. Founder says it, oh, the founder's going on again, like, blimey. And you think, well, someone else, the same message, but it's cost me $2,000 to tell someone else to tell you. But yeah, the concept remains, like, sometimes you need someone else just to reinforce that message.
Great, thank you.
Here we go, the old roulette. So cool.
So what was the one thing you wish your investors understood about the realities of running a startup?
Yeah, good question. Now, while we don't technically have investors, like, so I'd maybe tweak it slightly to say like shareholders or co-founders. I think the big thing that you can't, if you go into business with anybody, the thing you need is some kind of value alignment. And I think that's the biggest thing that nobody tells you, and where we probably come across the most friction as a three, or in any partnership, is when I see a decision made and I think that doesn't align with my values or what I would do. And likewise, they see something I do and say that doesn't align with them. And I think that's the thing that I wish perhaps someone had told me earlier in my entrepreneurial journey, is finding value alignment is absolutely critical, not just with shareholders and co-founders and business partners, with team members and also with clients. Yeah, that you see some clients and you see how they behave and you see how you behave and you go, this is either, and I've got one at the moment. I came off a call with someone this afternoon. I think the world of this client and I spend a lot of time with them and I always enjoy the conversations I have and I feel like we are well culturally aligned. I have other conversations with other clients where I think this isn't the right fit here. Like, you are speaking in a certain way, you're behaving in a certain way, you're demanding in a certain way. That isn't right. Now, when you're growing a business, sometimes you don't have the luxury to say, no, sorry, wrong cultural alignment, out you go. All right, I've also got bills to pay, I've got mouths to feed, I've got mortgages to pay, etc., etc. So yeah, I guess if I could do anything differently or change, kind of looking back, or to share something with people today, is that when you're growing a business, right, and I'm surrounding myself with these people and they say, you got to get to £1 million, £84,000 a month, that's the goal, right? And you go on this path. I don't know what I was expecting at £1 million, to be honest. I don't know if it was like a brass band or whatever, but you get there and then you're like, now what? Right? There's nothing really different. No, like, well done, or balloons or fireworks or whatever. It's just like, now it's the next thing, 168, 2 million. Right? Now you're 2 mil, 168, got to do 168. And then you do 168 and then it's the next thing. Right? And actually, the thing I would share with anyone is, why are you doing what you're doing? Why are you actually doing it? Because a lot of people go into agency because they're very good on the tools and they get really busy and then they think the only way to scale is hire more people, but they lose sight of why they did it in the first place, which is time. And if you really want financial freedom or time freedom, often setting up your own business doesn't give you the time freedom that you think it does. For a long time in Quickfire's growth journey, it essentially employed me and I felt like I was slave to it. Yeah, and only very recently have I started working on how I can detach myself from that. But I would try and be the first one in the morning. I would try and be the one working late at night. I'd constantly be on my phone. I'd be looking at emails. It's become an obsession, right? And you can't escape that. So to anyone listening, I would say, just remember why you did it in the first place, and actually don't lose sight of that. When you grow, brilliant. Yeah. Actually, you've lost sight of what you're trying to achieve, which isn't millions of pounds in the bank just for the sake of it, so you can tell everyone else about it.
Yeah.
I think it's very important. Yeah, thank you for sharing. I think we got a lot of things, and we have a very nice highlights. So thank you very much, Nathan, for attending today, and we're looking forward to following up and maybe inviting you in the next season if it's anywhere.
Yeah, well, it's really, really kind of you both. I've really enjoyed it. Thank you. I hope
thank you.
Listeners have found it useful, and best of luck with Hacking Founders. I think what you've created is a really nice community, and I wish you all the very best.
Thank you for listening. Join the conversation, follow, like, and subscribe on our different platforms.
This podcast was brought to you by Rocket Van, Shopify Solutions, and Harrington Blue and Partners.